I guess I can make another video that is overdue in the title. Hytale's story is a bit complicated compared to the last Overdue game we covered on the channel, since for the most part, almost all of the time we were waiting for Hytale was almost complete silence. This game has a pretty complicated history, which I'm going to try and summarize pretty quickly, since this video is supposed to be a quick look, since, there isn't a whole lot to judge, since the game just came into early access. Meaning literally everything in the game is subject to change over time, and there's even parts of the game that have literal work in progress signs, because that's exactly what the game is, a work in progress. Hytale is made by a group of passionate devs that started about 11 years ago in 2015. They're known as Hypixel Studios, and they are the owners of the largest Minecraft server, also known as, well, Hypixel. But Hytale wouldn't see the light of day until about 3 years after they started development in 2018, which garnered a shit ton of hype, as well as 62 million views as of right now. But unfortunately, we would not see anything like this ever again until about a couple months ago. This also doesn't include the fact that in between the trailer and the original cancellation, the small indie studio, Riot Games, would purchase the IP of Hytale as well as Hypixel Studios. So this would lead to a massive studio expansion, as well as decently frequent blog posts about the progress of the game and false promises of showing more trailers, and the frequent posts would be halted in a landslide in 2022, taking a whole extra year to get any information at all, which that information would be that they were switching to a brand new engine and were basically restarting development. Half a year goes by and their next development update, which basically just said, "We're working really hard. Please, just trust us. The game will be out soon." Another 6 months go by. Another insubstantial update with almost no important information. So now we're at the end of 2024 with no release date in sight, as well as little to no hope at all of ever getting to play the game. The 2025 spring update would also bring very little to the table, which leads us to the day it would get canceled on June 23rd, 2025, about 90 days after the spring update. Hope was lost, the Hytale community was lost, and there was not even a moment where anyone considered the idea that the game would ever be revived, especially since Riot had not said a word about Hytale and what may happen with it in the future. This was until November 17th of the same year when Simon, the founder of Hypixel Studios, would announce that he had done the impossible and purchased Hytale back from the humble and minuscule indie studio Riot Games for what was most likely a substantial amount of money. Now, this was an actual fucking update, letting us know when the game would be going early access within the next few months, and a release date was days away, with an extra reminder that the game was heavily unfinished, so one of the main features promised in the announcement, being minigames as well as the adventure mode, will not be available at launch. The game is also running on a very old build, and not on the new engine that they had to restart development for. Hytale was back. It had cost so much, and we had lost so much progress on the game, but at the very least, it was alive. So that brings us to now. Hytale, as of recording this voiceover, has been out for about a day. So how about we dive right into an Overdue Hytale early access review. So since this is a bit of a different scenario than the other games I've reviewed on the channel, this is only my first thoughts. Hopefully in a few years, I'm able to give my final thoughts when the 1.0 release of the game comes out. But basically everything I talk about here is subject to change, as I mentioned before. So I'm going to try to not be as harsh as possible if there's anything I am harsh about. I also wanted to say that if you guys would be so kind, please leave a like down below and subscribe if you end up enjoying the video, as it really helps out. But let's get right into it. So this is kind of my first time doing a scripted first impressions video, but I want to get started with what most people are probably going to be doing when they boot up the game, which is customizing their avatar. Which, for a game that just came out, I'm actually shocked that I was able to customize my little guy to my liking. Usually I don't have the exact options, like longer hair that actually looks good on male models. There's a lot of hair and face customization to make sure anyone can make their model either look exactly like themselves, or if you're like my freaky ass friends, you can go ahead and make Saddam Hussein. There are some cosmetics locked behind the different editions of the game, which just incentivizes you to help these guys out, but none of them, besides the capes, made me really regret the fact that I chose the lowest price point to jump in. Not to mention they do have upgrades, so if you really want these cosmetics, you can go ahead and throw a little more money their way. Also, I'm sure throughout the lifespan of the game, they're going to be adding a lot more customization, as well as potentially even skin options like how Minecraft has. But getting into the actual gameplay of Hytale, it's obviously really similar to something like Minecraft, but there is something that feels really different when it comes to Hytale. The way you spawn into any world whenever you start is inside of a custom structure, which will always mark spawn. It's almost like one of those little mystery boxes that you can buy whenever you start a new world. Not just spawning in and seeing absolute dog shit or an infinite ocean around you, the structure almost makes it feel like you're starting a new story, which at some point is actually going to be the case, but as of right now, there is very little story content available. The game also has a different level of progression I find more similar to Rust or Terraria than Minecraft. Punching trees isn't really a part of the gameplay loop here, but breaking bushes and picking stones off the ground is. It also doesn't really take a whole lot of these items to get off the ground running, and what takes time for the most part in this game is grinding for the items to make the actual workstations, so you can make the items associated. But just getting the workstation isn't enough because you need to upgrade the workstation as you build better and better items, so you are basically constantly scaling. Now, in my own personal world, I haven't made it too far, but I think I've gotten one of every station, and I just ended up upgrading the crafting bench to get the backpack upgrade. Also, since I mentioned that there is a little bit of story content right now, what I mean is that you can navigate to another generated custom structure that has a portal in the basement, which in the future is going to become a sort of hub world that will transport you to other dimensions, and I think the planned amount is 5 dimensions, but I could be wrong. The hub world by itself kind of spells it out pretty simply about how different the art styles are between Minecraft and Hytale. While Minecraft has a very defined style that doesn't really allow for a lot of wiggle room, and that's not an insult at all, by the way, that just means that the only people who can truly do the Minecraft art style justice are the people who actually work on the game. But Hytale isn't really restrained by anything for the most part. Like, yeah, they have an obvious way of making things, but there are so many different looking creatures in the game that if you threw anything else in here, it most likely wouldn't look too bizarre. Which works a lot better when you're in this sort of infancy situation where you're wanting to add like 100 more things and can't decide how to make it look. This is also just an overall graphics diff, but since there are shaders built into this game and the textures feel a lot more high res, I guess you could call it, even the workbenches, since they're not stuck to just being one block and are allowed to be taller and wider, so there's a lot more detail that can go into them. And the biomes as well in this game are extremely vibrant. Like, if you compare Minecraft when it was around the 1.0 version to how Hytale is now, it almost feels like a Terraria level of difference in this game. Blue magical biomes, as well as areas that remind me, at least personally, of Mordor from the Lord of the Rings movies. It's just different, but with everyone calling Hytale the Minecraft killer, as well as both games operating in the same niche and sharing a lot of the same players, it's hard to not just constantly cross over and see what reminds you of the other game. But as someone who enjoys both, I will be continuing to play both whenever new updates come out. But something that also feels different enough to be mentioned is the building in this game. With the variety of blocks in this game, it feels a lot more like they want you to build very cinematic builds in this game. The look of the game also supports that idea, because everything looks gorgeous. Whether it be the different structures you can find or the biomes, everything is a very RPG feel, which it's supposed to, since a lot of the marketing material has called Hytale an RPG sandbox game. Well, I'm actually really happy with how the game is right now. Part of that happiness definitely comes with the gameplay loop, which for the most part is mining for resources and exploring, which feels extremely satisfying and honestly really fun. There are different biomes you can find in the underground as you go deeper, and also while you're just exploring. Like, with how deep you go, you'll eventually find a magma zone where there are fire-themed enemies as well as harder stones and ores to mine. There are also some that aren't dependent on depth, like blast shroom caves, which feel like a hazard since the shrooms explode if you walk on them, or the spider-infested caves where you can find cocoons of dead adventurers before you that came through these parts and fell prey to whatever lurks in the shadows. This level of detail isn't exclusive to here, as you can find different bases that belong to the trolls and goblin mobs, where the trolls set up war outposts almost, and the goblins look like their bases are set up haphazardly because they're not really intelligent enough to make things safely or secure enough to not be raided by the player. And part of the exploration's fun comes from the combat, as it feels like there are hostile mobs basically everywhere. No matter what, for the most part, you will find yourself in a combat scenario, and there are plenty of different weapons to choose from to differ your playstyle. Daggers and swords are very quick, while maces and battle axes take a long time to swing but do a lot more damage. This doesn't even include the ults that each weapon type has, which whenever you attack enough creatures, you'll be able to charge an ultimate move that does a flashy attack, which has a lot of damage. There's also the parry and block system, which helps the combat feel fluid and not basic, which even your enemies can block your attacks, so you'll actually find yourself waiting for opportunities to fight your enemy. And when you're fighting a lot of mobs, this gets pretty challenging since some will be attacking you and others will be blocking, so you have to make constant decisions on what to do and what to fight first. Overall, the game has some really solid bones and is really fun to play, so if this is all you care about, then the video is over here for you. But if you want to continue watching, I'm going to get into my hopes and dreams for Hytale as it continues its lifespan and eventually adds a bunch of stuff. So this is going to be a unscripted, basically wants and needs for Hytale in the future, which as of recording this, it's been about 4 days since the game went into early... No, 5 days. 5 days since the game went into early access. And they've already added a massive update, which they added dinosaurs. I'm of the belief that, you know, as much as they just said that, like, you know, they're of no hurry to basically put this game into the 1.0 version, I feel like they're underselling themselves. I think they're going to get there a lot quicker than they're leading on, considering the fact they just added a whole new biome as well as 3 new dinosaur mobs within the first week of the game being out. Honestly, my wants for this game aren't too high. I want to see some more stuff with like a magic system, which I think that there is already some like semblances of that in the game right now, because I think if you go in the inventory, you can see that there is a mana system, but I have 0 of 0. So, but honestly, I'm interested in what they do with an actual magic system, as well as, you know, more biomes. I think that the biomes that we have right now are great, but I want to see more for the most part. But I also do want to see a lot more stuff with the oceans. Like, I like these little mobs right here, but I remember seeing in one of the trailers that there was going to be like a bunch of coral reefs, and I don't know if it's just because I haven't been able to find any, but honestly, the oceans are looking a little lackluster at the moment. Like, if I come over here, looks kind of boring besides the kelp and the seagrass. Like, you look down there and there's just not a whole lot going on down there. Like, I already like the different types of fish, but, you know, I just want to see more. And then I also do want to see just a little bit of quality of life stuff, which they've already been adding. Like, you can now place torches while you're using the pickaxe. So that's brand new. I didn't think that that would need to be added, but it's good that they instantly fixed that anyway. I also want to see more animals. I really like all of the animals that they already have in the game, like the pigs, the sheeps, the cows, and all the mythical creatures and stuff like that. I just think having even more of them would be even better. But honestly, that is kind of all I really have to say. I just want more of everything. That's how much I like the game. I just really want more of everything that's already here. I'm still satisfied with what's going on here, but I want more. I'm pretty happy right now. I wouldn't say anything like I need more ores or anything. But, I mean, if they're going to lean more into the RPG side of this kind of stuff, I also want them to add, like, more builds. Like, Terraria has, like, a bunch of builds that it doesn't directly tell you about. I'd really like more stuff like ranger builds, like maybe add guns, I don't know. That probably doesn't fit with this game's style, but, I mean, they've got them in Terraria, it works there. It's really shaping up to be something special. I also want more structures, like I want more stuff like that. And obviously they're going to be adding the new dimensions, so, you know, I can't wait for those. Honestly, I think that's going to kind of be it for the most part. I really hope that, like, over time, like, maybe we'll do like a yearly review of Hytale at some point. If I'm around that long, let's see if I can do a yearly review of Hytale and basically get to experience this game as it grows and develops. Like whenever they do major updates, probably come back, take a look at it, see how much they've changed, how much has happened, and just make notes and differences. Give a little review. So, if you guys enjoyed this video, if you'd be so kind, please leave a like and maybe even subscribe down below. Really helps out the channel, and even leave a comment telling me what you did like, what you didn't like. Doesn't hurt my feelings, helps me out make some content. So, this is Glitchy, signing off. I'll see you when I see you.